Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. I am delighted to be part of this presentation with the Bishopbriggs Academy Ambassador Programme. I felt very strongly that a keynote address should be delivered by pupils, and that it shouldn't just be from professors of the university or from our international speakers, that it's really important that the keynote really comes through that student engagement that Avis mentioned this morning. I think that in Scotland we would like to claim that character education is embedded in the curriculum that we have, and in the totality of what we do, the ethical and moral education are implicit in it. But I think that there is a danger that what's experienced by many of our pupils is that it's a body of information to be learned and then of course subsequently forgotten. And also we heard this morning about the importance of linking knowledge to action. And my strong belief is about seeing character education as a way of being, just something we do. And I'm delighted to be able to introduce David, Lewis and Kenneth, who are going to talk about character education as something that they just do. David.
We've got the exact same slide. Yeah. So, as we started out as volunteer champions in 5th year as part of the Bishopbriggs Academy. They taught us what we needed to know to volunteer, but we spent much of 5th year actually sitting down, looking at booklets and reading things that we felt that we wanted to get out and do. When we finished 5th year, a few of our class decided that we would not only start a team together, but we would also actually go out into the community and link the school to the Bishopbriggs community and really try get a feel for what volunteering meant. We thought, when we were first told to do this presentation, we wanted to figure out what we could say. We wanted to start with what the definition of character actually is. Now, there's Abraham Lincoln. He said that reputation is a shadow, character is the tree. What he meant by this was that each person has particular aspects of their individuality, and this linked on to how they would succeed and how they would fail in life. Why is it important? It leads to those successes. It leads to those hardships that we may face. A great example of this is comic books. Each character in a comic book is given a set of aspects, and it's these aspects that lead them down their series and the sort of situations that they put themselves in. As a team, we very much decided to focus on community because that was the aspect that we could essentially tackle, and it would help us to connect our school to the people around us. We noticed that there was a hole, and that the elderly were sort of getting the wrong impression of what young people are like. There's a lot of negative publicity, and we really wanted to try and eradicate some of that negative publicity. So we got up, we tried various events. We brought, we did a grandparents' school. We bring your grandparents to school day, where we got the community very much involved with the school. To talk a little bit more about that, I've got my best friend Anthony sitting here, and he's going to talk about how we just got up to do things.
Hello, I'm Lewis, everyone, and thought just to come up here and say how much you can actually make a difference if you do take initiative and actually try doing things for yourself. And that's what I was going to go for, just do it. Unfortunately, these jokers decided to steal my title, so that's it. But what happened was, last summer, I'm going to give you an example of what could happen if you have an idea and you see it through, is that last summer, I got myself into trading card games. So it's cards with little pretty monsters on them, and they fight to the death. And I loved these so much that when I went back to school the following semester, I decided, wouldn't it be awesome if we had a place to actually do this on our own and we can all get together and just play cards and bring people together? So when I got back, I decided to set up my own Bishopbriggs Card Association, where we can play all sorts of card games and more or less bring people together, and it's worked. Every single day we usually get roughly 20 to 30 people every single day, and that was all just from one idea that it was in the spur of the moment. Just goes to show what you can do if you decide to have an idea and see it all the way to the end. So, yeah. I'm going to pass over to my friend Kenneth now. So, thank you.
When we say about finding a spark, what we really mean is, in any team there's got to be some sort of common goal, whether that's in education, work, social gatherings. There has to be some sort of aspect, some shared interest or common goal that brings that team together. With our volunteer team, it brought so many different characters together when we were doing the volunteer champions. And when we'd started the volunteer ambassadors, it brought a sort of concentrated group together that had a really passionate love of volunteering and getting out in the community and helping people and showing members of the community that had a negative impression of teenagers that basically they were wrong and that we could make positive impacts on the community. And with relation to character, so many different characters were involved, people that could do public speaking and people that were grafters that would quietly work behind the scenes, but you needed all of that to make it work, and that's what the spark is. It's not finding that common goal to get out there and make an impression on the community that brought our team together and that made us successful, and that's why we're here. And on the subject of achieving things, this is actually myself and a girl called Natasha, who's in the volunteer team. She can't be with us today. We were recognised as part of 50 people that were picked from all over the UK. There was 10,000 people nominated, 50 were chosen, and 3 of them were in Scotland. This was the other guy, Connor, in the picture here. And that was, we'd never, when we started volunteering, the research was only just being done as to actually start the I Will campaign and the Step Up to Serve, which was launched by Prince Charles and backed up by the 3 main political parties in Britain. We didn't have a clue about this when we'd started, and because we'd only done what we enjoyed, we were both sports coaches, we'd only done what we enjoyed, and because of that we were recognised with this pretty prestigious award, and we may be going on to campaign for it next year if we're chosen again. But it just goes to show what you can achieve if you just do something that you love and something that you're good at. You can get recognition for it without going out of your way and without looking for it. So I'll pass you back over to David now. He'll finish off the presentation.
As a team, we felt that volunteering was a great way to grow as a community as well as an individual. We focused on getting both the volunteering outside of the school and volunteering in the school. We tried getting pupils as well as people outside the school to volunteer. And how we did this was very much an event-based way. We did the big lunch, which we held at Bishopbriggs Academy, which was a great success, where we got people to come in from the community, very much like parents, grandparents, and they came in and they looked at various charities. We set up stalls and stuff like that to just open up people's eyes to what volunteering was. There's many other ways that people can volunteer. There's a website called Better Together, A Stronger Scotland, who have created a list of 150 things which a community can actually do together. So there's no shortage of things that can be done. When people from different ethnic backgrounds, from different age groups, come together and become a community, we feel that everybody grows and becomes better. And the main thing that we wanted to focus on was the gap between ages and the negative implications that we were getting in the newspapers. Our main goal was to build the character, and that's why we were asked to do this talk today. The whole idea of character, we feel that the education is missing, is the fact of actually getting out there, experiencing it for the pupils themselves. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. One of the important things to say that when the students were planning what they wanted to say this afternoon, we had a lot of discussion about what character and character education actually means. And I think it's such a slippery concept. It's one of these things that as we sit in the audience and as we were discussing what the presentation was going to be about, most of us can visualize what we mean when we talk about character education, but putting it into action and putting it into action in very diverse ways, I think creates the challenge for policymakers and for teachers in terms of how they make that happen. And it's that balance between the kind of student endeavour where it does become a way of being and between something where teachers and others are trying to guide and nudge it forward. And I think what was interesting as we discussed and we planned, I was probing them in terms of that balance between the totality of what is offered in school, between the formal education, between the informal education and the notion of a hidden curriculum, and what they felt teachers were able to do in terms of guiding them to make it something that really was an action that they could take forward themselves. And I think what was interesting was that they really saw that importance, again by what Ava said this morning, of top down and bottom up, that clearly the stimulus for getting together around the volunteering programme had come from one of their teachers in school, but it grew and it developed until it became something of their own, and their own ideas, as you heard from David and Lewis and Kenneth, then started to flourish. And only when they felt it was their own actions and they felt it wasn't something that was being imposed, it was something they wanted to do because they believed it was the right thing to do. And the understanding that character in terms of the ethical and moral development becomes something to do with knowing what is the right thing to do at the right moment. And the kinds of things that they were doing went beyond working within the school and getting out into the community. And I think from what we heard from them today, that sense that is something of their being shone through the kinds of things that we're saying. So please join with me in thanking them for their presentation this afternoon. And what is always interesting to know is the kind of the nitty-gritty, the fine-grained detail behind the kinds of things that they were doing. And they are going to be involved in one of the seminars straight after this keynote, and it'll give you an opportunity to ask them more directly some of the questions about how they got it going and how perhaps they would like to see it in the curriculum in the future, because I kept probing them about how this would be sustained, not only within themselves, but within the school and the pupils that are following on after them. So I do hope you take the opportunity to ask them some further questions. Thank you.